Plan on flying? In order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a real ID. Learn how to get your real ID today at tsa.gov/real ID or visit your local DMV.
Welcome to A Pair of Bookends, the book club you can carry anywhere. I'm your host, Hannah MacDonald, and I'll be bookending the conversation with some of the most exciting voices from the bookish world. Welcome to our book club episode for May. This month's book pick is The Unworthy, which is the latest novel from writer Agustina Bazterrica. Set in a post-apocalyptic convent, The Unworthy tells a story of the women who live there. Living in fear of the wrath of the superior sister, the women plot against each other to avoid being the next to suffer punishment as they await to see who will ascend to the level of the enlightened. One of the unworthy is risking it all by keeping a diary where she writes memories of a world collapsing and the secrets of how this place came to be. When a new woman arrives to the convent, everything they've ever known is brought to boiling point. It is a beautifully written story that is somehow both disturbing and terrifying whilst equally moving and hopeful. The Unworthy is out now and published by Pushkin Press in the UK, and if you haven't already read the book, you can grab a copy via the link in the show notes. Author of The Unworthy, Agustina Bazterrica, is an Argentinian novelist and short story writer. She studied fine arts at the University of Buenos Aires and has since gone on to become a central figure in the Buenos Aires literary scene, working as a cultural organiser and workshop curator. Agustina is the author of 3 novels and the short story collection 19 Claws and a Blackbird. Her second novel, Tender is the Flesh, cemented Agustina as a best-selling author worldwide. It was translated into 30 languages and sold over 500,000 copies in English alone. It became a book talk phenomenon and is currently being adapted for television. Agustina has received several awards for her writing, most notably the Premio Clarín Novella Award for Tender is the Flesh. Her latest novel, The Unworthy, is translated by Sarah Moses, and here to chat all about it, welcome Agustina to A Pair of Bookends.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so excited to chat to you. But before we dive into your journey as a writer and your book, I have to ask one of my favourite questions, which is what are you currently reading?
Okay, I'm reading a lot of things because I always read a lot. First of all, I'm rereading a book that is not yet published from one of my best friends. Her name is Pamela Terlisi Prina, and she wrote a short story collection. And I'm rereading it because I'm going to present the book in a few days.
Amazing.
So that is one. Yeah. The other one is this one that I'm also rereading it. I read it first in an ebook, and then I got the book. It's called, in Spanish, Mientras todo arde. I don't know in English. It's about climate change and extreme heat. And it's written by, I don't know the name of this guy, Jens Liljestrand. He's from Sweden. And well, you know, it's a big book, and it's really great because I'm writing something to do with this. So that is why I'm rereading it. Also, I read a lot of poetry, and this one is from an Argentine poet that it's called Susana Tenon, and I'm reading it really slowly because for me poetry is essential to write. Also, I'm reading Truman Capote, Plegarias Atendidas, that in English it's Answered Prayers.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
Sorry?
I don't think I've heard of that one.
This one is, I think it's his last book. Is not finished, I guess. And this is the book where he criticizes all his friends in New York. And they made a TV show or a series about this.
Yeah, I've not heard about this, I don't think.
We saw the TV series and it's really good. I need my husband, he knows all the names of the things we watch. It's a TV series in Netflix. And it's called something like The Swans, and it's produced by Ryan Murphy.
Oh, okay.
It's really good. It's really good. It's about all the story of this book, how he started writing, and he fight with all the women he criticizes. And the other book I'm reading is this. It's from the High Festival. The High Festival is a
Yeah.
literature festival. Okay, so they gave me this as a present, and you have a lot of interviews, really, really great interviews with a lot of writers.
Oh,
So I'm
amazing.
reading also this.
Oh my gosh, you're
Yeah,
reading a lot. Do you find
yeah,
it
I
quite
always
easy to
read a
go
lot.
between?
Yeah, I do that a lot. And I also, in the other room, I have other books that I started. I went to Oslo recently and to Warsaw and to Amsterdam, and there I start reading Han Kang. I
Yes.
read The Vegetarian a long time ago, but I start reading the Greek classes or
Greek
the Greek
lessons, yeah.
lessons, and well, I'm reading also that.
I think that's the only one I've read of Han Kang's is Greek lessons. I haven't read The Vegetarian, and
Ah,
my
it's
friend said I've done it the wrong
incredible.
way round. She said you need to start with The
Yeah.
Vegetarian.
Yes. Because the Greek lessons, she has like a really slow cadence.
Yeah,
Yeah, you need the time to read it and the concentration.
yeah.
But the vegetarian is pa pa pa. It's
Okay.
incredible.
That sounds more like me.
Yeah, like it has another rhythm. It's incredible.
I can't wait to get to that. You've given me the push I need to read The Vegetarian, and I really admire that you read so many books at once. I think it's amazing that you're able to do that. Now, as mentioned in my intro, your second novel, Tender is the Flesh, has, of course, been a huge success. Why do you think that story has resonated with so many readers?
One of my editors, she told me.
Plan on flying? In order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a real ID. Learn how to get your real ID today at tsa.gov/real ID or visit your local DMV.
Something that I think that pretty much explains the phenomenon is she said your book burns.
Hmm.
So when people read the book in general, what happens is that they feel physical things.
Yeah.
Like there were people that had nauseous, there were people that fainted, people had nightmares. There was one reader that she told me that she felt the taste of blood in her mouth.
Wow.
Yeah, but what happened is that they feel everything and also rejection, but they need to continue reading the book. And when they get to the end, they need to talk about the book with others.
Mm.
So what happens is that, for example, here in Argentina, is that it started this phenomenon with the, I don't know how you say it in English. They start recommending the book to others. They start lending the book. They start giving the book as a gift. And also here in Argentina, they teach the book in a lot of schools.
Wow.
So I went and talked to a lot of schools. I said in past, like 100 schools, I went physically to talk.
Wow.
Not this year because I'm traveling a lot, but it's one of my priority things to do, to go and talk to teenagers. And what happened, for example, in the United States, that there is, the United States, it's a bestseller, the book, is that this phenomenon was on TikTok,
Yes.
like they started recommended the book. I don't have TikTok, so I don't know, but I'm glad and I'm grateful with TikTok.
Yeah.
But that is what happened. Like I'm talking about a taboo theme that is cannibalism. So
Hmm.
what happens with taboo is that it generates rejection, but also at the same time a lot of attraction.
Hmm.
And I think that also is a universal theme. So I guess that is why. But you never know with books because maybe it could just generated rejection and just that,
Hmm.
but gladly it didn't.
And it's been adapted for television. That's incredibly exciting. Is it
Yeah,
not?
but it's a really complicated theme that
Ah,
the rights were given to a Mexican producer,
okay.
Mexican, yeah, and we are with that.
Okay.
They did nothing with the rights, so we are negotiating what to do with that because there were more than 100 petitions to
Okay.
film the book. So it's complex. So that is
Yeah.
what I can say. Yeah, but it's really common. I thought it
Yeah.
wasn't that common, but it's common that a lot of books that the rights were bought,
Yeah.
then
Nothing
they do
happens.
nothing with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I've heard this quite a bit. But there's clearly a hunger for this particular story to be adapted. I forgive
yeah,
the pun, but there is, people want this story out there, and for there
yeah,
to be 100 petitions to have it
yeah,
means that
yeah.
something will
From
happen with it at some
Hollywood,
point.
yeah, from
Incredible.
Hollywood till students that want to film it to everything in the middle.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
Amazing. But let's get on to the book that you're here to talk about, which is The Unworthy. I absolutely loved this book and it really does pack a punch. And it's only, I think, like 180 pages, maybe a little bit more. And somehow you made me feel so much in such a short space of time. But I want to start by talking about the protagonist in the book who writes this diary in secret and this exploration of how we as the reader know that if she's caught writing this diary, it's incredibly dangerous for her. I wondered what drew you to this idea of writing as something that you could be punished for.
When I have an idea for a book, I always say that there's nothing original at this point. That all the themes are already written
Mm,
about. I mean, but what could be perceived as original, it's the way you're going to tell the story.
hmm
That is why when maybe I have an idea, I need a lot of time, maybe years, to find the pieces to write, to know how to write it. So on some point of my writing process that it's conscious, I know the pieces that I have. Like in this case of The Unworthy, I had my own experience because I went to a nun school. I was educated in a Catholic nun school with German nuns, and I didn't have a great experience. So I had it on my bones.
hmm
But also, I read other books that were really important to write this one, essays. But on the other hand, there are parts or in the process of writing that I don't know. Like it's intuitive.
hmm
And I started this book with an image, like a sensation, and with the image of these women in the chapel of Ascension with the eyes so. And that was the only thing I had. I didn't even had the protagonist writing a clandestine diary.
Oh,
So
wow.
sometimes I have only that,
hmm
and I start wondering why they're there. And so when I start wondering and make questions and trying to figure out this universe, this protagonist appeared. Why she appeared, where she came from, I don't have an idea. And of course, I know that what artists do and writers do, we are rewriting
hmm
everything that we read all along our lives and that we lived and that we think.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, it's an influence from whatever, all the diaries that even my own diary. When I was a teenager, I wrote a diary, but you have a lot of cases like Anna Frank is the most famous case of someone writing a diary.
Yeah.
But also, what happened with this book that sometimes happens, and it's really crazy, is that the book was already published here in Argentina. And I read a book from a Cuban writer. He's dead, unfortunately. His name is Reinaldo Arenas. And he escaped from Cuba because he was gay, he was homosexual, and he was persecuted by Fidel Castro. And he wrote a book that it's called in Spanish, Antes que Anochezca, and in English, let me translate it, Before Nightfall, maybe is the translation. And it's like his testimony. And what he says there is really interesting because you can realize that literature saved him.
hmm
He wrote even when he was persecuted. He wrote novels that he gave to his friends, that he hid under, I don't know, the floor. and it's really clear how literature saved him. So it was incredible that I wrote the book before reading this,
Wow.
and one of the things that I work in the unworthy is this, is how the God, the sacred thing, the refuge, the real refuge, it's also in literature, in her act of writing.
For sure. And it's a really beautiful concept that even in this really horrible world that she's living in, that she's found this thing and she's found a way to be able to do it and continue to do it when kind of all the odds are against her finding these moments of refuge for herself. I just thought it was a really beautiful thing the way you explored that. I want to touch on the convent that you've mentioned, which is obviously the setting for the book, and it has this very claustrophobic feel to it, and it's really unsettling in terms of the power structures that exist in this convent. What was it about a convent that interested you in making this the setting for the story?
Well, since I went to this school, Catholic school,
Yeah.
I always am wondering what is God.
Mm-hmm.
And why in that Catholic school, I don't know others, but this is my experience. They teach me about love because actually Jesus, if you read the Bible, and I have the Bible here because I had to study it for the university.
Mm-hmm.
If you read the Bible, the message of Jesus is love, and of all the great, how you say, spiritual guidance. It doesn't matter the religion, but
Mm-hmm.
in general, the message is love. And in that school, they teach me other things that weren't love. They teach me to hate, they teach me to discriminate, and they did something that was really effective, but really cruel. That was that they generated this panoptic thing, like we're all women, the students, and we control each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the professors, all women, control the students, and the nuns control us, and the only man, the priest, also control us. And when you go to your house, when you finish the day at the school and you went to your house, the Catholic God was controlling you, and you were always suspected of being a whore, of being a sinner, of being unworthy.
Mm-hmm.
So all that oppression that you
Yeah.
felt in the book was the oppression that I lived when I was educated at that school, because I'm now 51. So at that time, here in Argentina, at least we don't even talk about feminism, and I didn't have the tools,
Yeah.
to understand that what they wanted was to educate girls that were sumisas, how you say, wait, that were obedient
Mm.
and submissive, and
Yes.
so that is why I always thought, I mean, this religion, do I believe in this God?
Mm.
Do I believe in this religion that it's eminent, it's patriarchal? You
Yeah.
have the Vatican with only men, and
Mm.
women are always below. And well, yeah, I always try to think about that. And one of the things that I work on the book on the unworthy, it's about love, the energy of love,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that God, or you can call it God, goddess, mystery, whatever you want to, the name that you want to put, the creator,
Mm-hmm.
it's love actually. So I work with that on the book, but the word love is never named there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what the reader has to figure out is where is that love?
And there are ways that love kind of presents itself in a couple of different ways. And I wanted to ask you about the sense of memory in the book. We get these sort of fragments of moments between the protagonist and her mother that kind of keep returning to her as she writes. And I wanted to ask why memory was important in this story.
Because we are our memory. Humans are all the bits and parts of the moments we lived. And also memory is a construction,
Mm,
because we are not going to be Funes, El Memorioso. Funes, El Memorioso, it's a character from Borges. Jorge Luis Borges is one of the most important writers here in Argentina and in the world. And this character can remember everything. Like he can relive an entire day. The thing is that if he can remember everything, he's reliving the day, like so we need the memory to be a construction and to leave things out because if not we will become crazy. And also the book starts with her not she's not capable of remembering how she got there. And that is because something happened we will not spoil. But also writing is not only her act of rebellion and of her sacred space, but also the way she has of remembering who she is actually. Her identity.
Yeah, and I think so much of our identity is kind of created by our childhood experiences and our relationship with our family and, those sort of big relationships of our life. And it was so beautiful getting to read those moments with her mum, and you feel that kind of, I don't know, that it's really quite sad to read, but I don't want to give any spoilers, but they're really beautifully written, I will say that. Another important relationship in the book is with Lucia, who your protagonist describes as fragile as a deer, and she becomes almost a light for your protagonist in this incredibly dark world. And I want to know what their dynamic represented to you.
Well, Lucia, it's like the hope in the book. It's in that sense, it's really different from Tender is a Flesh, where almost you don't have any light in the book. But here, since I'm talking about love without naming the word love, Lucia is the representation of love, of connection, of not judging. Also, one of the things that I work in my books is I like to work with readers that are active.
Yeah.
So the readers that can think, okay, are they crazy? Are they like copped by a cult, so they are like brainwashed, or are they really magical and the miracles are real and that God is real? And Lucia, it's like a sort of witch. I don't have the answer, or I have one favorite answer, but it's mine.
Yes.
But I like the readers to think about that. So also Lucia could be all of those things,
Yes.
because I think one of the books that was really important to write this one, it's called Caliban and the Witch from Silvia Federici. Silvia Federici, she was born in Italy, but now she lives in the United States. And she wrote this book. It's an essay where she analyzes why women were burned alive, accused of being witches during so many centuries. And it's the book is really, the essay, it's like 600 pages.
Wow.
But the conclusion, it's like she talks about capitalism and how with capitalism they needed cheap labor. So women were held in their houses only to have kids, like the only objective of their lives were have kids. So what happened with that is that all the knowledge, really antique knowledge with and the connection with nature and all the what plants can do, they can cure you or they can kill you, and all that knowledge that women had was taken from them, and that is why they accuse them of being witches. And I wanted to like recuperar, wait, I don't know this word, like recover.
Yes.
I wanted to recover a little bit of that. Like Lucia also represents that, and the power of women.
Yes.
And also, but we will spoil. No, I won't say anything because we will spoil. Yeah. Love, actually.
Love,
Yeah.
yes. There are obviously, I think it's quite apparent in the way that we're speaking that there are some quite graphic scenes in your book of these awful punishments. You know, you were mentioning this image of people with their eyes sewn shut, but there are a number of punishments that these women receive. How do you find writing those scenes? Do you ever find it difficult, or is it okay for you?
No, no,
Wow,
never. No, and I based all the punishment that were really
they really exist.
executed for women with all the Inquisition, but also here in Argentina, unfortunately, in we had a dictatorship in the
Mm,
70s where people were dragged from their house and they were tortured and they were disappeared, their bodies disappeared, and a lot of women were tortured. And I won't tell you the tortures because they're much worse than the book, for example. But if you read any book about the Inquisition, you can see that they're the least things they did were, I don't know, cutting their tongues, you know.
it's harrowing. It's awful.
There was, there's an article from Silvia Federici where she analyzes the origins of the word gossip. And in the origin, the word gossip was really positive. It
Mm,
was a relationship between women that were almost like sisters,
yeah,
but with all this really big process of capitalism and also patriarchy, the word gossip transformed because women were not allowed to be united to have friends.
yeah,
Because if you have friends, you have like a net that can help you if you
yeah,
need to go, you need to divorce. So, what the men did, and these things were sold on, how you say, locales. No, also, I don't know. Well, these places where they sell things, I don't know, like a pharmacy or whatever,
yeah.
they sold these, they were called skull bridges, something like that.
Hmm.
They were like a structure they put women so they couldn't talk.
No,
Yeah,
that's
that
awful.
existed, and let me scold. Here you have it. It's like a mask. Here you have it. I don't know if
Oh my gosh,
you know.
that's awful.
So this existed and was sold for women. Here you have a woman with a skull bridge.
Oh my gosh. It,
So yeah,
I think it's just reminded me of something that Margaret Atwood said in an interview about The Handmaid's Tale, in that, you know, it's called dystopian, but she said nothing that I've written, like everything I've written has happened already in some shape or
yeah,
form. And I think, you know, that's exactly the same for you. We're like, oh my God, these are harrowing scenes. And actually, there are these things have happened. And
yeah.
actually, you know, this idea of dystopia isn't as far away as we think.
And they're still happening
Yes.
because look what is happening in countries as Afghanistan and Iran. In
Yeah.
Iran, women in the 60s, they could have like a normal life. They
Yeah.
could they could have a job. They could
Hmm.
manage their money. They could vote. And
Yeah.
today, they cannot even go out the street
No.
without being completely covered, and they cannot talk in public. I mean, it's crazy, but it's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I always say when I go to talk to schools, that we have to fight for our rights
Mm.
every day, because you never know. I mean, today we have here in Argentina, we got the law for abortion recently, not long ago,
Wow.
but now there are people that want to review that law. And you have the example of United
Yeah.
States that they got the law, but a lot of states, they're taking it away. So you have to always, and I think that art and literature, a lot of what it's created today,
Mm.
it's to think about our reality and to never stop thinking about, yes, this, about how the world could be more just, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, definitely. I want to ask you about which also affects our rights, the shifts and advances in technology and AI that that are kind of mentioned in the book in terms of the character's past. And she's talking about the things that her mum has relayed to her in terms of how people thought that when she's explaining what the world was like before, how people had done everything on their phones, and how they believed that in some countries the electricity had been cut because of AI to prevent its advance and the spread of its power. And you write its independence and hunger to dominate its creator, which I thought was an incredible sentence. And I wondered if you could talk about this idea of AI dominating its creator, and how you feel in terms of the relationship between creative and AI at the moment, you know, as a writer.
I mean, there are a lot of writers that long ago talk about this. I mean, about the robots or, artificial intelligence
Yeah,
dominating the world. You have the film Matrix, but you have a lot of books talking about that.
yeah.
It's a great fear that
Mm,
humans have, and I think that, I don't know, it's difficult to think about the future,
yeah,
but where would the artificial intelligence will take us?
yeah.
But I think that on the way, what is happening now is that, for example, we are using a lot of resources like water because they
Mm,
need to cool, the just to do stupid things.
yeah,
All the I don't know if it was a week or how many times that people were doing these Ghibli images,
yeah,
like the Ghibli studio images.
yeah,
Like, why? I mean, we are using all this water just for you to have your image as a cartoon. I don't
yeah,
understand.
yeah,
I mean, I think it's crazy,
yeah.
So yeah, and on the other hand, I think that a lot of jobs will be replaced by artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So the world will change a lot in that sense,
Yeah.
and we have to adapt
Mm,
because I think you cannot stop it, in a sense. And on the other hand, you have all the climate change and all the resources being used and the world being contaminated.
yeah,
So I don't know how long we will be here in this planet,
yeah.
because we are destroying it. So
Mm,
we have all these contradictions,
yeah.
and well, maybe I have to write another book. I don't know. You have people writing about that and thinking about that, but yeah,
Well, you
it's
also,
really complex.
yeah, it is. And you also explore climate change in this book because we know
Yeah,
in the past, but before they end up in this convent, we are aware through the diary entries that extreme weather has happened. You know, it's caused the world as they know it to collapse, let's say. And obviously, in our own reality, climate change is something that's getting worse. And
yeah,
it sounds like
yeah.
from the books that you're reading that this is something that you're really passionate about. Could you talk a bit about what that's been like, you know, writing and exploring this topic?
It's really crazy because I always like take the things that are not yet developed, latentes, like
Yes,
dormant,
yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
like in a German,
Yeah,
and I take that to an extreme.
yeah.
But what had happened when I was writing The Unworthy
Mm-hmm.
was that I wrote, for example, the paragraph where she says that they don't have more seasons anymore, that maybe in a week you have a day of extreme heat and the next day extreme cold, and that,
Mm.
And when I was writing that happened actually here in Buenos Aires, in Argentina.
Wow.
We had, it was summer and extreme heat, and the next day, extreme cold. And it was like, what is happening? You know? And also, I talked there about the floods, you
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
in the
yeah.
floods. And here, bueno, here in Argentina, we had recently this year a really big flood in a city where a lot of people died, and we are having in Los Angeles with the
Yeah.
fires, and here in Argentina in the south a lot of woods were disappeared with a lot of fires.
Hmm.
And so all these extreme things are happening in the world now,
Yeah.
not that it's not fiction anymore.
No, no, it's not. And it is really scary to read about, but I think, it is part of our reality. I was looking on TikTok the other day and a video came up from somebody in America and they were filming like a hailstorm, and the hailstones were like golf balls. They were so huge, and they were landing and hitting the windows and smashing the windows.
Sorry, when you say America, you say United States?
Yes, sorry, yes. Yeah, United
Because
States, sorry.
America is all the continent.
Sorry, yes.
No, 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 no. It's okay because people always say the Americans, and I always say no, no. I'm also American because I
Yes,
live in
sorry.
Argentina in the
Yes,
continent,
the
but they
United
don't have a
States.
word. They don't have a word to name themselves as United States. I don't know how you
Yes,
could
yeah, yeah,
say it,
yeah. I
and
mean,
that it's the mentality of imperialism that you name yourself as a whole continent.
yeah, sorry.
So no,
Yeah,
no,
I
no,
know,
you don't have to say sorry. It's something that I realized not
yeah,
long ago, and I
yeah,
say, wow,
yeah.
because I also talk about them as Americans, and now
Mm,
I say United States, people
yeah.
from United States.
Yeah. So in the United States, yeah, this was being filmed, and you can see how drastic the weather is becoming, and
Yeah, of
it's really
course.
scary. So to read this book and then be like, oh gosh, like it's everything in this book is
Yeah.
actually happening.
And it's incredible because, for example, today I do recycle a lot. I try to do it, and I took these things that we call here botellas de amor, that you could translate it as bottles of love, I guess. So we put all the plastics here, you see, in these
Oh,
bottles, and you
wow.
take them to a place where they recycle them. So I took those bottles today and I was thinking, okay, I'm doing this. And Elon Musk is taking Katy Perry to space.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's insanity. It's insanity.
it's
And for
insanity.
what
I'm doing this
purpose?
effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be there 10 minutes,
Yeah.
like what fuck. But also I thought, okay, I have to do this because if I
Mm,
don't do it, I'm helping to the contamination.
yeah.
I'm doing more wrong than right.
Yeah.
So I think that we individuals try to do right, and we have these companies and these millionaires that are really, really responsible also.
Mm.
So things have to change also in that sense.
Yeah, it's not empowering like they thought it was going to be. They thought we'd
Of
receive
course
it
it's
as a
not.
no,
Of course of not,
no.
because I mean all the message is wrong with
Yeah,
that space trip, because they could took that money and give it to, I don't know, a lot of foundations
yeah,
of with people that are underprivileged
mm,
and they need money to study.
yeah,
That you could use that to really empower girls if you
yeah,
want to do that,
exactly. Yeah,
or go to a town in any country in Africa where women don't have access to medicine, they don't have access to water, and you could give that money to those people,
hmm,
so what the fuck, are you
yeah.
crazy?
No, it's insane. We could talk about this for a long time, but you're a very busy
I'm really,
woman.
really, really, really mad about
Yeah,
that.
me too. Yeah, and it's
Infuriating.
it is infuriating. It's diabolical that this is how they choose to use their influence and their money. It's
Yeah.
wrong. I want to ask you before I finish off the episode by asking for a recommendation. I want to ask you dedicate this book, The Unworthy, to, and I hope I don't pronounce this wrong, Angelis Salvador. Is that right?
Yeah.
Um,
Ángeles Salvador. Yeah.
why did you want to dedicate this book to her, and what do you admire about her work?
Well, Ángeles, she was a writer here in Argentina, and I first read her first novel. I didn't know her in person, and I was reading the novel in a plane. I was traveling to a province here in Argentina, to Corrientes, actually. And I was with headphones and reading, and I didn't realize that the plane was landing. So I was so concentrated in the book that I almost died of a heart attack because when
The
the plane
tarmac.
landed, I was like, what is happening? But she was so good that I could immerse completely in her
Wow.
book. Afterwards, I knew her, and we became, I don't know if friends, because we didn't have time, but we
Mm.
start like a friendship. And she was my neighbor because she lived around my house,
Wow.
and we get together and talk. She was really, really interesting, and she wrote only 2 books, and she died of COVID. And yeah, and I thought that I was really, really sad because her voice was really personal,
Mhm.
unique, and that it was like my little homage, you say,
Yeah. Yeah,
for
for
her.
sure.
Yeah, because she was incredible.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's such a loss. But it's amazing that we have her work, and I don't know if it's translated into English.
I don't
No,
know.
no.
Those types of things that happens with some books that you say this author should be like really known
Yes.
and translated, and maybe because whatever, it doesn't happen,
Mm,
and it's so unjust,
yeah,
because she was published by a really good publishing house, but I don't know why her books were read and whatever, but they didn't like explode,
yeah. Maybe
uh,
maybe as a result of you speaking about her and
I mean,
right.
I always recommend her books, but
Yeah.
what happened also is that for a long time, I recommend her books, even when she was alive. And also, I wrote blurbs for her, the little
Yeah,
phrases, but the books weren't found, they didn't republish them.
right.
So you recommend the book, and people cannot
Not
buy the
get it.
book. So it's like,
That's such a
but well,
shame. But you've paid
yeah,
homage to her. That's a really wonderful
yeah, I
thing
try
that you've
to.
done. Yeah. Before I let you go, Agustina, I do like to finish by asking for a recommendation. So, is there anything, it can be books, TV, film, anything goes for this
Yeah,
recommendation?
I can recommend. Yesterday we went to the cinema because we go to the cinema with my husband, and we saw this movie, Sinners.
Ah, I want to see
Oh
this.
my
Yes,
God!
I'm
Oh
going to see
my
this next week.
God! It's incredible.
Is it?
And you should go and see it on the cinema because
Yes.
the music is incredible, and it's one of the best parts of the film.
Oh,
It's
wow.
about vampires, but of course, it's not about vampires.
Yes.
It's about much more. But all the movie, it's like, whoa, incredible. Yeah, I really recommend this movie. Also, we saw this one, but I don't know where you can see it. Odyssey, Odyssey. It's also a horror movie. This one, Oddity,
Oh, okay.
this movie. This is a
Yes.
really, really
Oh
good
my gosh.
horror movie, because we see a lot of horror movie, and
Mm.
of course, a lot of them I think they are really bad. But also, I recommend this book, Brat, because
Brat.
he's from England. That is why I'm recommending you
I think I've seen the cover for this.
Brat.
So
I
get,
read it in Spanish, but it's so good.
is it Gabriel Smith?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this one. Here is translated to Spanish, but well, you have it. This is the translation in Spanish,
Yes.
Brat, but of course you have it in English because it was written there. He's from
Yes.
England,
This is
and
our
I think
cover
it's
here.
really good novel.
It's
Oh yeah,
such
great
a cool
novel.
cover.
It's so strained and singular, and I also read this book on a plane.
Oh wow.
I read it all through the travel, and I couldn't stop reading it. And I was like, "What? What is happening?" It's really, really great.
I love
It's
it when a
really good.
book makes you feel like that though. It's quite rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other that I want to recommend, and recommend it a lot,
I love
is
this.
this Blackwater. I don't know if you
No, I've not heard
Blackwater.
of this.
No,
I don't think so.
Blackwater from this. It's a saga with 6 books. You can read by Michael McDowell. He died
Oh.
from United States, and here was published with 6 books. These books,
Oh wow.
Blackwater. that are beautiful, the
Yeah,
edition,
they're
but you
gorgeous.
can read it in one book, and it's about a family in United States, but it has some sobrenatural, like fantastic things.
Mm,
It's really, really good.
that
You
sounds
know those
amazing.
books that you're reading and you have to do your chores, you have to do your things,
But you don't want to.
like cook, and you don't want to. It's like, why I have to do it? Because I don't want to clean the house. And you want to read and read and read,
Yeah.
and it's really, really good.
I love that. You've given me so many good recommendations.
Yeah,
I absolutely loved The Unworthy. It was such
thank you.
a wonderful book to read, and I can't wait to see what you do next. I really
I'm
hope that.
writing. I'm writing.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
But the difference with the Unworthy and the and Tender is the Flesh
Hmm.
is that this novel is completely Argentine.
Oh, okay.
So it takes place here in Buenos Aires,
Hmm.
and you have all the slang, all the insults from Argentina. So
I love this.
having a really great time searching for insults, because here in Argentina we are like one of the best people that insult. I don't know how I say it. Like our insults are really creative.
I need to know
Uh,
one. Can you give me one?
um, it's the thing is that
Difficult
it's
to
really
translate.
difficult to translate. Yeah. Like we have one that it's la concha de la lora. It's like the pussy of the parrot, but translated is really bad. But if you say it in Spanish, it's so the sound is the thing,
Yes.
the sounds of the insults. Yeah, so I'm having a really great time, but it's really different from the other novels, because I try to write different. Like I'm trying to say things with the
Mm,
way I'm writing. For example, in Gender is a Flesh, the sentences are really short,
hmm.
and what I want to do is like to hurt the reader with the sentences. In the Unworthy, I use a lot of of resources, of
Yes.
poetic resources. So I want to write a book that is beautiful, but I'm talking about horror, but in a
Mm,
beautiful way, because it has a lot of poetry.
yes.
And in this case, I want to write this slang,
Mm.
Argentine slang, because I'm trying to say something with that I won't spoil,
Yeah, this sounds amazing. I'm really excited for this. It will be published here as well.
I don't know. I have to finish
I'm
it first.
manifesting it will.
First, I have to first I have to finish it. Then I don't think it will be a really easy book to
Yeah.
translate because of all the slang.
Yes.
But I don't care. I mean, the story is asking me to write it like this, and I will do it
Yes.
like that.
Of course, yeah. No, you must embrace the culture and that language. It's what you want to lean into and it's authentic. But I really hope I get to read it someday. Thank you so
Oh,
much for coming on the podcast, Agustina. It's been such a joy chatting to
pleasure.
you. Yeah. Where can the listeners find you online? You're on Instagram?
I have all the social media, but I
Yeah.
only use Instagram actually because I have X or Twitter,
Yeah.
but I don't use it. I have TikTok, I don't use it. And I have Facebook because of my husband, but I don't use it. And yeah, Instagram,
They
my
can find you
name,
on Instagram.
Agustina Bazterrica. Yes, there is another person that is called with that name, and I guess she hates me. But you can find, if you see things with cats, you will see this certified cat lady.
Yes.
That is my Instagram. It's the first thing you will see because I
Certified.
love cats.
I
Yeah,
love cats
I love
too.
cats. Yeah, really?
I have
I
two.
have, I have three and I have them tattooed
Oh my
here.
gosh.
I don't know if you can see them.
Oh, they are
It's difficult.
gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah.
I can hear
You
mine
have
crying
two?
outside the door.
They were fighting here.
No.
The names of your cats? The names?
Cleo and Rhubarb.
Uh,
Yeah.
I love them. I love
Cleo
them.
Cleo is very naughty. She's started we can't leave any food out on the side in the kitchen, even if it's in packets, because she will go through the packet to try and get to it. So it's terrible.
So, they do that and you think that they're amazing.
Yeah.
You forgive everything. Like they can destroy your house and they're magical. So
Yeah, they're
we are their
amazing.
slaves. We are their
Oh,
slaves, and
100%.
it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
100% slaves. And yeah,
We've got
I
to
wish
accept
I
that.
could. The other day, I told my husband that I dreamt of a little cat, a black cat that I don't know. Someone gave me the cat, and I in the dream I was thinking, how can I get this cat in my house without my husband knowing about this? Because we have three, and he doesn't want any
Want
more.
any
And
more?
he's right. He's right. He's absolutely right. But I was dreaming. I want another.
Another cat. Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yes.
would love a
Or,
third one, but he said no. I'm only allowed two, so at
well,
least you
you
have
know what?
three.
We have two. We had Luke Skywalker and Lola Mora.
Oh my gosh.
And for 2 years, I torture my husband every day, telling him that we had to adopt another.
No.
And even I talk about divorce, and we adopted Akira Kurosawa, Aki, the little one,
Oh my
the baby
gosh.
one. And yeah, I
Maybe I need
won.
to
I won.
threaten.
But I was like persistent to the level that he said, I can listen you. I can't. You're
You're crazy,
like,
crazy.
stop, please stop.
I love this.
And yeah, and I said, I will stop if we adopt a third one. I mean, I won't stop till we adopt a third.
I need to channel this energy.
Yeah, yeah, you need to do that.
But I need to finish the podcast.
Okay.
I would love to chat about your cats. But for our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Please give Agustina a follow. I will link her Instagram below. If you want to give us a follow, you can do so at A Pair of Bookends Pod on Instagram and at A Pair of Bookends on Twitter and TikTok. Go buy yourselves a copy of The Unworthy if you haven't already read it. I will be popping a link in the show notes, and I will also pop a link in the show notes to Tender is the Flesh. But lastly, thank you once again, Agustina. I've loved chatting to you today, and I loved
Pleasure.
your book. And thank you, listeners, for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.